All right, and we're live. And welcome to the Red Alert Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chap, along with my co-host, Cindy Bear. Now, Cindy is in the car. That's why she doesn't have a picture right now. So that's interesting to kind of hear, because there's always something interesting that happens with Cindy in a car cast, whether it be a stupid driver or a gravel hauler just spewing gravel all over the place. That's what Cindy deals with.
That is the problem. Yes. Actually, see, I'm in the mobile command. I'm in the Red Alert mobile command unit, and I'm incognito, which is why there is no picture or video because we're deep undercover.
You don't know where she's from. You don't know where she's at right now. So it's all
It's
good.
right. It's right. It was a big secret, but I just left a very excellent super secret meeting with one of my executive producers for one of my movies that's coming out next year, and that'll be a lot of fun to talk about that. Because
do you guys see what I deal with? She is Hollywood to the T. Now, Cindy, we got a lot to talk about because the Red Wings are they're in Sweden right now, the land of Henrik Zetterberg, Nick Lidstrom, Lucas Raymond, and more. But it's they're gonna play tomorrow at 2:00, so a lot of people are gonna be able to watch at 2:00 in the afternoon. Which hockey at that time is really good because you don't usually get to watch a sport at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Well, what better thing is there to do at 2:00 in the afternoon? It's like afternoon delight, is hockey games.
Anytime I could slack off at work, I'm all for. Just saying. But I'm usually off by 2, so I'm good. I'm good either way. All right. So let's go over the final scores from our last podcast. Obviously, our last podcast, it was the Winnipeg Jets and the Red Wings. The Red Wings lost 4-1. They lost 4-1 to the Bruins. They won against the Islanders, so they're 1-2 there. Lost against the Panthers. They won against the Bruins, and then they lost against the Rangers. See, it's been a long time since we've been doing the podcast. And then they lost against the Canadians, and then they won against the Blue Jackets. So they've been inconsistent as hell together. I'm interested to know your thoughts, Cindy.
Well, that's it. Inconsistency. Again, it seems like it is plaguing the Detroit Red Wings. It plagued them last year. It's plaguing them again this year. I don't know if they're trying to move things around, shift things around in anticipation of some other major changes coming. I don't know, but they are struggling to find consistency, and that is going to be their downfall again one more time going into giving. If can't find that sense of consistency, if they can't figure out what works by then, it's going to be a struggle for them to hold on to the position they've got.
Yeah, it's interesting because right now, if we're talking about the right here when they're in Sweden, I'm trying to pull up the stats, but the standings, but they're not far. They're at third in the Atlantic right now. So they're not far ahead. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs are tied with them, and they play the Toronto Maple Leafs on Friday, so they got a shot there. But I just think if they can get more consistent, they'll be fine. But the one thing I worry about, Cindy, is it's been their goaltending, and we'll talk about that later in a few.
Yeah, that's been a challenge for them. I thought they kind of had that figured out with Reimer and net, and then backing up Ville Husso. I thought that might have started to stabilize that situation. But as we've seen recently, it just still seems to be an ongoing battle for them, and they've got to get that figured out. The other thing is the goal scoring. I mean, they seem to really get the offense going, and either it's on fire or they can't seem to find the net. I don't understand the problem with why we can't get consistent goal scoring. I don't know if it's the lines that are problematic and they're trying to work that out. I can't figure out, and I don't think they can either, where they need to find the consistency. And I think we've got some weaknesses as well in the defensive pairings because they keep mixing them up as well. And I think they're still trying to find their way there. So it's not just in net, in my opinion, Joe. I think they really are struggling to find consistency across the board, regardless of what unit we're looking at.
Yeah, I think you're right about the consistency part because here's the thing. I think when we came into the season, me and you both said that they're going to have to find their way. And then when they got to the season, they started off hot as hell. And it's like, oh, we might be onto something. Now we both acknowledged the fact of the matter that they weren't going to get to the average. Okay, they were going to get to the mean. They weren't going to keep riding sky high. They weren't the Bruins last year. You know, it's very rare that you have a team that does that. But this is a little bit different because there's one game that they come out to play and they play well, and then there's a game that they come out and they just, like the Rangers game. They didn't come to play at all in that game. They weren't even ready to take the ice. And it's just like it's frustrating because you shouldn't have lost to this. You shouldn't have lost to the Canadians. You shouldn't have lost to the Panthers at home. Like there was so many chances to gain ground, even more ground, and you just didn't do it. And like you said, goal scoring. I mean, look at this: 1 goal, 4 goals, 3 goals, 5 goals, and then now they're starting to pick it up a little bit. They're starting to go 2-5. So they're starting to pick up the goal scoring, but they need to get a little bit better.
Yeah, and let's take a look at some of the other places where the Wings have struggled and evaluate whether or not that they have addressed these things. Well, how are they doing on home ice, right? I mean, have they solved the problem if they were losing on home ice or breaking even? You got to do better than that. That's as good as the conditions are going to get for you. You've got to take advantage of those opportunities when you're at home, and your goal scoring at home, or your winning at home is going to have to be much better. So that's the other thing, is that, you know, I think that's still a challenge for them. I haven't even actually looked at the stats, but that might be some other place that we can look. But I'm just concerned that the Wings have not seemed to find the winning recipe yet. I'm concerned. I mean, it looked like they had it. That was the thing, right? I mean, everybody thought they had it. They thought, all right, we got it nailed this time, and now we don't. So, I mean, Chris Osgood said, you know, there's going to be ebbs and flows in the season. That's going to happen. So it's okay if they have an ebb. But we got to get the flow happening now, right? I mean, they've got to be able to rebound, and then they've got to stay ebbing and flowing at a higher level than what they are.
Yeah, it's just frustrating for the whole team because there's a couple games where they'll be really good, and then you know there's a couple games where they just don't even come to play. I'm trying to look at it right now. So but yeah, like they just don't play. They haven't been playing the way that we thought they would. I mean, we knew they would regress at some point, but at some point we didn't think that they would struggle as much as they've been struggling. And major part of their struggles is the goaltending, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. And I don't know why we can't seem to get that right. You know, Billy Husso, I'll tell you, is, to me, he hasn't been horribly inconsistent, but the goaltending overall seems to be fluctuating. I don't know why he can't just rise to the. We got to get Billy Husso rising to the caliber of a Stanley Cup contender. And I don't know if he's just still in development. You'd think at this point he's kind of past that point. I like Billy Husso a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential to be a Stanley Cup winning goalie. But the problem is I just haven't seen him get there yet. And I don't know why that is.
Well, we were talking about the home ice. I pulled it up. They are 5-2-2 at home. So they're basically 5-4 at home. So that's
Right.
not as good as you want it, because the teams above you are 6-1-0, 6-0-1.
Yep, there you go.
And then you're 3-3 on the road. Your goal differential, you're +6 right now, so that's good. That's pretty good. But besides that, like in the last 10 games, it's 4-4-2. So I mean, it's like we talked about it last year. You got to win your games at home, you know, and you being 500 at home is simply not good enough. And eventually, if we get to the middle of the season, and this keeps continuing to happen where they're dropping games at home, I mean, we're gonna have an issue, because this is not how it's supposed to be. Especially, I don't care if you're rebuilding or not. You got to show a sign, a glimpse of progress. You can't be the Pistons. You just can't. The Pistons are an absolute albatross, and they don't do nothing right. So that's the way it is.
Well, the thing is, I think what's frustrating for fans is that we do see those glimpses. I mean, you saw, DeBrincat, Larkin, those two guys I think are fantastic. They're dynamite on the ice typically together, and you've seen some amazing plays. I mean, some guys and other guys are really stepping up. Veleno is really stepping up his game. I mean, obviously it just must have connected in his brain finally this year that, hey, I'm fighting for my job, and this might be the last chance I'm going to get to keep it. So we've seen some really good production out of Veleno and some real brilliance in some of his skating also. There's been a couple other guys too that have just been like, wow, you see these things and you're like, holy cow, that reminds me of a Sergei Fedorov, or that reminds me of a Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
And then you're like, where did he go? I just saw him last game. Where did that guy go? Where'd that player go? And so it's frustrating because they have the talent. It's not that they don't have it. Now they've got the talent, but now it's bringing it on a consistent basis. And I know we're going to keep saying that word and it's going to get tiring, but nonetheless, it's true. And you've got to do better at home. And I said, when everyone was excited about where they were at in the standings, I said, look, you've got, Toronto's nipping at their heels. You've got, all these different, the guys that were right underneath them, they're all nipping at their heels. They're just a matter of a game or two away. All it was going to take was for the Wings to lose a game or two and these other guys to win a game or two. And before you know it, the standings have totally flipped themselves. So let's not get all excited, but I think the excitement wasn't just in where we saw them in the standings, but again, some of those flashes of brilliance you saw on the ice, those flashes of possibility, those flashes that brought you back to the good old days of the Red Wings in 97, 98, 02, and you get frustrated because you don't know where they went and why they can't seem to bring it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, Clamp Sauce from YouTube, he says slow starts are killing us, and a lot of that is on Newsy. So he's blaming Newsy alone, which for the slow starts. And you know what? He might be onto something, because if you look at the slow starts, I mean, eventually those slow starts are going to come back to kill you. I see the Red Wings always coming out, and they're not playing a concise game. They're not ready to play, and then you fall in a hole. If you're falling a hole at 3-0 in the first period, I mean, the uphill battle you got to get back in the game is basically insurmountable. You got to be perfect the rest of the game, and you just can't do that. I mean, some teams can do it, but a lot of times, if you fall in a hole like that, you're done.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that we looked at last year. Again, with the Wings, what I'm seeing is some lagging issues from last season, that even though we've changed personnel, we still have the same issues. We still have lack of consistency. We still have issues in net. We still have, our special teams we thought had gotten better, right? And now we've got a power play unit that can't seem to score on the power play.
Yep.
You can't have that. You've got to, those are three issues right there, not to mention not winning at home. That's another issue. Okay. We're just lining up one after the other issues that plagued them last year. And the argument was we didn't have the talent. Well, now you've got the talent, you got the personnel change, but you still got the same issue. So maybe our friend has a point there with the fact that, Newsy's still calling the shots. And I like Newsy Lalonde. I really do. He's got a different style. I like him. But I like Jeff Blashill too. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the reality of what you're dealing with, and you're dealing with the fact you've still got some of the same issues you got last year, and you can't blame the personnel.
Yeah, well, they're 11th in power play right now. They're still third in goals in the NHL, so they're still at least they're staying consistent. That's the one thing, but they're being inconsistent as well. Like the games that they win and they lose. I mean, we can go back over it. They've won games that they come out and win a game, and then they lose a game, and they drop a game to a team that's not as good. Like dropping a game to the Canadians. I know they started hot, but Jesus pizza, you got to play them good. And then beating the Blue Jackets, that was a must win, because what did we say all last year, Cindy? You got to beat the bad teams, because then you're asking that you have to go out there and beat the Bruins or beat the Leafs or beat those teams. Like you have to take advantage of teams struggling. And if you're struggling, they're going to take advantage of you.
Well, and I'm okay. And I'll agree with you to a point. I mean, you've got to defeat the weak teams. It's okay if you have a one-off, okay? Like the Lions this year, right? They had the one-off, right? When they lost to a weaker team. But you can't make it a habit. You can't go 50-50 with those teams. You can't even go 60-40 with weaker teams. You have to be beating your weaker teams 80-90% of the time, because when you go to meet your even strength teams or the teams that are considered stronger than you, those are the ones that you're going to expect to lose half the time. So you've got to make it up where you can and where you have an advantage. I don't think the Wings are taking advantage of the opportunities that they've had so far in that regard. But yet they're kicking butt to try to beat teams like Boston. And so they're, I think, so focused on proving themselves against stronger teams that then they're kind of laying off a little bit or taking a break or whatever, not taking these other teams seriously. And I think that is a fatal flaw if that's in fact what's actually happening. And Newsy's going to have to correct that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Newsy's gonna have to correct moving forward because like we said with the Red Wings, like they're just inconsistent. But going back to them beating teams that they should beat and losing to teams they shouldn't. I mean, if you lose to teams that you shouldn't lose to, right? You're gonna have to play a team like Toronto or Florida and Boston, where you're gonna have to make up those points somehow, some way. And with the 2 games coming up in Sweden, I mean, there is no home ice advantage, so you're gonna have a really good shot to kind of stem the momentum. And there might be a home ice advantage on your side because of all the Swedish people that you got on your team. So that could be a key right there. But besides that, I mean, like these 2 games coming up are absolutely crucial because these are the only 2 games you're playing all week. So, you got a week in between. I mean, like it's basically the week and you got 2 games.
Yeah. So we're going to have to see. We're coming up on Thanksgiving. And we talked about, we're going to take a look at Thanksgiving, and that's where you take your benchmark, right? All right.
Mhm.
So where are we at? That was always Scotty Bowman's go-to time to look at. And then you look again at the All-Star break, right? So when we assess, it'll be very interesting to see our next show, Joe, when we assess where are they at right after Thanksgiving. I don't know if they've ever had a time when they've gone out of the country or done these types of scenarios before Thanksgiving in the past. I honestly don't know the answer to that.
I don't think they have.
I don't think they have either. But I'm not the hockey historian that some people are. But I would say that could actually factor into maybe that pushes that Thanksgiving date maybe into the beginning part of December when we take a look at where they're at and how the standings all lay out. But the other thing that I saw was that, and it worried me, is that the Wings were second in the Atlantic, but they were also 2 games ahead of everybody else. So there was already a possibility that they were going to get overtaken, and they did. And if that continues to happen, they're going to find themselves out of playoff contention really quick.
Well, the schedule they got coming up is really tough. They got Ottawa and Toronto in Sweden, so those games are going to be obviously in Sweden. Then they come home and play the day before Thanksgiving. They play the New Jersey Devils, which that is not an easy team to play. They play Boston at Boston. They go to play Minnesota at the LCA. They play New York and Chicago and Montreal. So there's some tough games mixed in there. So they're going to have to just study the serve, and they got to play good hockey. And if you can get 2 games in the Sweden trip, you win both of them. I'll take a 1-1, but if you win 2, that will put you in a very, very good position because Toronto's a team that's head on your heels right now.
Exactly. And they're always the team I look at to see how we're going to do. Unfortunately, it seems like we are challenged by them all the time, but they're always in there. They're always up in contention, and they're always going to have to, you're going to have to get by them or at least be competitive with them in order to make the postseason. So I'd like to see how that game shakes out too. That's really the one I want. If I have to give up one of them, I'll give up to Ottawa before I want to give up to Toronto. But I'm actually going to be at the game the Sunday after Thanksgiving. I'm bringing a bunch of people down there. Yeah, we were hoping to do the Chicago game because we're taking people that have never been to a hockey game before, really.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, a bunch of Hollywood people, and they're coming into town, and they're starting to pick up some filming, finishing up some filming on a great movie that's coming out. They're working on anyway, friends of mine. And so we're bringing them to the hockey game. We wanted to do the original 6, but didn't work with the shooting schedule, the filming schedule. So we're going to the Minnesota game, but that's a game I expect them to win.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, 1:00 in the afternoon, you're playing Minnesota at home. If they can't pull that game out, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna have their eyes on the Red Wings that day because the Lions don't play. Number one, it's a Sunday game. at 1 o'clock. So there's going to be eyes on that team, and they do got to just steady serve, and they got to win the games they're supposed to. The game against Minnesota at home, you're right, they should win that. They should win against Chicago, and they should win against Montreal. If you win any other games, if you win against New York or you win against New Jersey, that's a total win right there. So you just gotta steady the serve, and I know people. Eventually, you're gonna go on a run. You're gonna go on a heater again, and it's gonna be fine. But you cannot lose ground, especially in this Atlantic Division.
No, they've got to pick them up where they can, and that's one of those games that should be a no-brainer. That should be one you can just put in the win column. But if it's not, let's talk about this. If it's not, and they fall to Minnesota, now what does that say about the status of the team, right? What does that say about what changes? You're going to have to make some significant changes if you're losing under those conditions, in my mind. Question is, what changes do you make? What changes do you make? I think the Larkin to Brinkett line is a good one. I think that's probably as solid as you're going to get. But what do you do on defense, right? Where's your top defense pairing, and where's your depth defense pairings too? You got talent there, but who's guarding? I mean, I'm watching a lot of these games, and I'm like, well, how the hell are they even getting to the net? Where's the defense? Where's the defense in the neutral? Where's the fight in the neutral zone? Where are we winning in the neutral zone? How are we keeping it out? It seems like we're constantly defending our own end when where the hell were these people? How are they getting there in the first place? Right?
Yeah, the one thing I don't like about this the defense right now is that they're allowing people to get in front of the net, and they're allowing screens to happen all the time. I know as well as anybody knows that if you screen the goalie, it makes them really, really tough to see the puck. And then the second part about it is if you screen the goalie well enough and you get a rebound, it's easy access. You're gonna get the rebound and score. That's the one thing I don't like about this team right now is I feel like they're too lackadaisical on the defensive end, especially in their own zone, especially in front of the net. I think that's where Newsy Malone, he needs to really put an emphasis on getting stronger in front of your net. And the one player I do see getting stronger in front of the net is Justin Hall. I do like the way he's playing, but I expect more from Sider. Wallman left practice today, so that's not good. But it's difficult. You don't want to see your goalie get screened a lot, and especially when their goalies are struggling, like Husso is struggling right now.
Right. And it seems like we are just giving way too many opportunities away. I think we're taking some penalties that shouldn't be happening first off. I'm not sure that the PK unit is quite working up to where they need to be. Let's put it this way. The PK unit is getting overworked because we're taking too many penalties that we shouldn't be taking. And when we do get the break, right, and we're on the power play, we can't seem to capitalize. We can't transition to goals on the power play. That's something that's going to have to get fixed. So I agree with you. There's all these people that are being allowed in our zone. They're all right around the paint. And where the hell are our guys? They're not there keeping them out of it. And that is not going to – we're not going to be able to get to the postseason that way. And even if we squeak into the postseason that way, that's going to be a fatal flaw for us.
Yeah, and I look at the giveaways for this team. Andrew Kopp is at the top with 12, Jeff Petrie at 11, Alex DeBrincat 10, Larkin 8, Sider 8, Gossesbear 8. I mean, everybody above 10 that's not good. You're giving a puck away at an enormous rate, especially when a guy like Jeff Petrie, he has no takeaways. I could deal with Alex DeBrincat. He has 9 takeaways and 10 giveaways. All right, that's fine. Dylan Larkin's 10 takeaways and 8 giveaways, but a guy like Andrew Kopp, 7 takeaways, and he's given the puck away 12 times. I mean, if you want a simple fact of the matter is if you're playing like that, first of all, Andrew Kopp is a veteran. He can't be doing that stuff. I mean, I look at a guy like Veleno, right? He has 2 giveaways the whole season. Rasmussen, 3 giveaways the whole season. You're a veteran. You're expected to do more, and the fact that you're not playing at a high level, you're not taking care of the puck. That's on you. That's a huge emphasis. I think if Malone is looking, I'm sure he's looking at these stats. That's the emphasis I would take away.
You know what I find interesting too, and there's a shot of this. I don't know who got the photo, but you had Nick Lidstrom and Steve Yzerman both watching very carefully how their team was playing in Sweden during their warmups or their practices or whatever. They got a shot of them, and I mean, how many other GMs and head office staff do you have down at the rink watching, at the ice level, watching their team perform? The only reason those people are there is because there's a problem. That's my opinion. That's what I tell my staff. If I show up every day and I'm watching what you're doing and I'm present every day, there's a problem because I'm there assessing it. And so I guess the good news is that Nick and Steve are there. The bad news is Nick and Steve are there. So there's a reason for that because they're assessing things to potentially make some changes or whatever the case might be, which, I don't know if there's any more discussion about this out there. I'll be honest, I haven't been on the news sites today, and it's going back and forth, and you can never tell what's clickbait and what's not.
Right.
But the whole notion of Patrick Kane making a decision, I heard he's going back home. I heard he's going to Buffalo. Have you heard anything more about that, Joe?
Not really. I still hear the Red Wings are in the mix for Patrick Kane. I wouldn't be shocked if he picks here. I honestly do think that if when you look at those pictures of Yzerman and Lidstrom at the practice rink, right? I really do think that they're hemming and hawing about making a move, whether it be with Calgary, whether it be with Patrick Kane, whether it be with another team that's looking to make a big deal. I don't know. I just think that I think something's brewing. I can't put a finger on it, but I feel like something's brewing with the Red Wings. I think that Steve Yzerman, he's not going to take this for much longer. I guarantee you that he's not going to take some inconsistent hockey, especially with playing in the Atlantic Division. That's the last thing you want is playing inconsistent hockey. So I think eventually, especially if I wouldn't be shocked after this 2-game stretch in Sweden, if they went winless, I'd expect a move. I would expect a move without a doubt.
Oh, well, I think so too. And I already knew kind of from some of the sources that I've been able to procure is that I already know that they're talking seriously about Patrick Kane. They're looking at how to make it work. They're looking at what needs, if that makes sense, how it makes sense. They were seriously looking at it. So when I saw that there was some chatter that he'd cut a deal with Buffalo already, I thought, all right, well, maybe it's just not going to work out for us. But I agree that they are looking to make a move because they were looking seriously at Patrick Kane, and they wouldn't have been doing that unless they felt that they had a need. And so I think they're definitely looking at that.
I'm
and
not
I
sure.
expect the same.
I'm not sure if the Buffalo rumor is actually like this internet fodder. You know what I'm saying? Because I just feel like with where Buffalo's at right now, especially with the loss of Tage Thompson yesterday, like Buffalo's in a world of hurt. A world of hurt. Losing Tage Thompson for a significant time is absolutely massive to that team. He's one of the best players in the NHL, and the fact that he is out for a significant time, per their coach Granato, that's a brutal blow for that team.
Yeah, and I don't know how that influences whether or not Patrick Kane is an option for
Well,
them.
I'll tell you how it influences him. There's no one that's going to get him the puck better than Tage Thompson. I mean, Tage Thompson's a beast. He's an absolute animal. And if he's not healthy, I mean, why would you go there? There's no reason to go there. Like, Patrick Kane isn't the same player. He's not going to be able to carry a line with him. He's got to jump on a line that's already pretty good and give him some extra punch. That line would be with Detroit. And I heard something today about, I was on Twitter or whatever, about the Maple Leafs being involved in Patrick Kane. I was like, with what money? Like,
yeah, no, I don't see how that's even possible.
Like
They couldn't.
First of all, the Toronto Maple Leafs are like the LA Laker fans. They think they're going to get everybody under the sun. They think that everybody's going to come to them. They don't think that the salary cap is real. Like they're kind of dumb. They're. I know a few Maple Leafs fans. I played with hockey with some of them. They're good people, but there's a vocal majority of that fan base that thinks everyone's going to come to them. I'm like, guys, first of all, you play in Canada. Second of all, taxes. No one likes getting taxes taken out at an enormous rate like they do in Canada. I mean, you might as well go play for LA if you want all your taxes taken out, or San
Right.
Jose. But it's just funny because I was reading that and I was like, there's no effing way they get Patrick Kane. They don't got any cap room.
No, they had to move things around enough just to give Bertuzzi a 1-year deal. And, that's not working out so well for him. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe.
That Bertuzzi thing is an absolute, it's a disaster. I mean,
Yeah.
they were the Canadian media is clowning Tyler Bertuzzi because I don't know if you've seen it, but one of their players got hit hard or something like that, and he got injured, and Tyler Bertuzzi just skated by, like, bro, like, and they are in the Canadian media. You know how the Canadian media is; they'll
Yeah.
come at you for everything, and they were pissed at Tyler Bertuzzi. There was people calling him out, saying that he's a Bruin lover. Like, well, he did play for the Bruins, but they were just like, "This isn't a Toronto Maple Leaf." I'm like, "What is a Toronto Maple Leaf?" Because there really isn't a culture over there. You could tell that right away.
Yeah. I think they've learned their lesson there. I like Tyler. He's a good guy. I don't like his representation or whatever. We talked about this last year, but I even made the statement that I really thought that Bertuzzi had topped out. The last season, that's probably as good as it's going to get. I didn't see him getting any better. I saw him at best staying stagnant, but I think he was going to kind of be on the downstroke after that. And I'm hoping that's not the beginning of this for Tyler's sake, but at the same time, I'm glad the Wings dodged a bullet with not giving him that big, huge contract that he was looking for, because I just don't think it was warranted. I think they made the right call there. But anyway, I don't know who they've got in mind to come on, but I think they do recognize that some changes are going to have to be made if they're going to try to salvage their the possibility of them locking in a playoff spot. So they've got to remedy the issues we've already talked about, and I'm sure they've identified many more that they need to take care of. But certainly they've got to get better on the power play. They have to get better in net, and they have to bring about some kind of a consistency, because otherwise you're taking a crapshoot every time you're going up against anyone of significant caliber, and you're hoping to hell that you can at least pull out a win 5 out of 10 times, because that's about as good as it's getting. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just this lack of consistency, the lack of the things that we've talked about that they've got to come up with. And I hope they can. Because they have a tremendous opportunity this year. I hate to see them blow it.
Yeah, I think the one thing you would hate to see is them not make it because of what they did in the beginning and part of the schedule. Last year we kind of highlighted it in totality. We said, look, you look at November and December, and that's where you lost your playoff spot. That's literally where they lost a playoff spot last year. And they're kind of reverting to the same thing again. Now, here's the deal. The deal is when you get to the end of November and in December, you have to win more games than you did last year. You just have to. Or else you're going to find yourself in the same situation where you're chasing points in January and February before the trade deadline. And then Stevie Y has to make a decision if he's going to sell deadline or buy, or he's going to stand pat. I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, you're in such a chaotic division that if you go on a 3-game losing streak, you could end up at the bottom really quick.
Exactly right. So what we have to hope for is that Steve, I think he's going to have to make a change. That's just my guess right now. My gut is that he's going to make a change, because I think he's going to have to. Because, to be honest with you, Joe, I do not see the Red Wings equalizing here. I don't see them leveling off. I don't see them, shooting for the moon. I see them very much still wavering, and the problem is it's going too deep into the season for that.
Yeah.
I don't see them having a Lions comeback. kind of
Yeah.
year like they had, like the Lions had last year, right? Second
Mhm.
half was just outstanding. I don't see that happening. I
Well,
just
that's
don't
really
see it
tough.
shaping
That's
up
really
that way.
tough to do. And even when they had that ferocious comeback at the end, they still found themselves out. So that tells you how hard it is to make up ground. Even when you're playing your best, hockey, you're still not going to make up that ground. It's so hard. Like one game can take you out of the whole thing. So I look at that and I'm like, man, it's a tough situation. And if he can go get a goaltender right now, I'd be all for it. I really would. I think if you can go, I think there's a goalie in Nashville that you can go get because they're in the last place in their division. If you can go get Saros, go get his ass because you need a goaltender right now. I don't know if Billy Huso, what's going on with Huso. I don't know what's going on with Reimer. I know you got Alex Lyon, but it's better to have one great goalie than have three middling goalies, and that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. The other thing too is you got to have a goalie that's not facing. I mean, what's the average shots that these guys are facing? It has to be very high because there's being way too many opportunities. And to your point with the turnovers is what is allowing the opposition to create these opportunities to constantly take all these shots on net. I think I would not be surprised if Detroit is facing more shots on net than the majority of the NHL.
Yeah, I'm looking that up right now. So shots against 451. So they're just below league average. So they're doing a pretty damn good job on that. The issue with them, for if we're being honest, is the goalies aren't making the saves because they're at 891 and the average in the NHL is 898 right now. So you're basically 7 points off of the average in the NHL of save percentage, and I got to tell you that's not good enough. It's not good enough. You're not going to win games like that. You're just not. It's not a good spot to be in, and that's why I call him the goaltending. I told you before the show when I was texting you, I was like, we got to talk about this goaltending issue because this is really pissing me off because there's times that they have had a really great game, and then they let in some BS goal, and you're just like, what are you doing, guys? Like, who's so I expected more of? But James Reimer is the goalie right now that's actually doing well, and I have the stats right here. But like, you look at Billy Huso, like 357 goals against average, 890 save percentage, like ugh. And then you look at James Reimer. I mean, at least it's a little bit better. 180 goal. That's really good. 180 goals against average, 933 save percentage. But if you ask James Reimer to go play, you know, 30 games, I don't think he's capable of doing that. So that's just the issue they have right now.
Well, okay, I was trying to give him an excuse, Joe. I was thinking, well, they're facing a lot of shots, and well, it seems like we've got a lot of activity, down in our zone, and we need to keep them out because so I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I guess I was wrong there. So there is no excuse, and yes, we need to make a change in that.
No, I was like looking at it the other day, and I was like, okay, they faced less shots than they did last year by a wide margin. I think at this point last year they were close to like 300. They were close to like 120 shots or something like that. And this time around, I think they're at like 89 or something like that. They're not as far as they were last year. But the save percentage of Huso, like 890, what's that gonna do? Absolutely nothing. That's
And
40.
that's your lead, and that's your number one. Your
That's
number one's at 890.
that's awful. He's 46th best in the NHL. 46. 49th in goals against. Like that's not going to get it done. And we were counting on Huso to have a good year, and he just hasn't had a good year. And then I think a lot of people are looking towards the pipeline, and they're going, okay, we have Sebastian Costa. Sebastian Costa struggling. I mean, Trey Augustine is at Michigan State. He's playing pretty damn good, but how you can't wait that long for a goalie. So I think if I'm Steve Yzerman, I got to go out and make a damn move because I keep signing goalies off the scrap heap? Absolutely not. You just can't do that.
So then the question is, who does he get rid of? Who does he move? Does he trade Billy Huso? Does he keep Huso? Does he trade one of his depth or a couple of his depth players? Does he trade a draft pick? Stevie doesn't like giving up those picks. And
Yeah, but at some point you're gonna have to give up a pick. At some point you're gonna have to make a move. Like this goalie situation. If obviously Steve Eisman knows a lot more than me and you. But if I'm looking at it from a realistic standpoint, the goalie situation is not good. And if you look at it going down the pipeline, not great either, Bob. Not great either. Because Costa's kind of struggling right now. Augustine's at Michigan State. He could be pretty good, but you're not going to wait that long. You need to go find a goalie. And as he was really, he really took a move with getting Alex DeBrincat. He needs to do that as a goaltender because I think that's what's missing right now. I really do. I think they thought Husso was going to be better. Obviously, last year he played his ass off, but this year he's just not playing good. And if you think James Reimer is going to have a 180 goals against average for the rest of the year, you're out of your mind. So, and he's obviously Husso's he just had a kid, so maybe he comes back with the new dad energy like they talk about, but just not good enough.
Wait. This could be this could be the pivotal point, Joe. When was the baby born?
Today.
Oh shit! So we can't even say that he was like exhausted and new dad energy. What are you kidding? Let me tell you, if that girl's smart, she's got him taking them late night feedings too.
Oh man!
But no, they wear you out. They do, and they wake up everybody. It's not just the mom. They wake up dad and everybody else. So it's like
you would know.
Especially like with my second daughter, she woke the house up. I mean, there was no question about it, right? She's still got a big mouth, but that's okay. We love her anyway. But anyway, so no, but that's really the way perhaps he's been distracted. I don't know if Philly Hughes has been distracted, and I don't know why he hasn't been producing, but he's gonna have to step it up. But here's the thing: how much longer are they going to give him? How much more time can they afford to give him? And when are they going to make this change? When do you think Steve's going to make the change? I mean, he can't wait too much longer, really.
I think you have to make one by Christmas if there's not something done, Christmas or New Year's, because I look at it like this. Last year, you were in the same situation. You fell off. You dropped games that you weren't supposed to drop, and you found yourself outside the playoff race real quick. Same thing here. And I don't think you can wait that long, but I'm thinking maybe you can buy enough time with Alex Lyon and James Reimer. Maybe if you do a 3 goalie rotation, maybe you'll find one that sticks. But for me, I would be calling teams right now. I really would. I know it's early in the season, but like you could look at a team like Nashville, who they're basically rebuilding right now. They're going to be rebuilding. There's just not a good hockey team right now. And if I was them, I would take it to full opportunity. If you called about Saros, because they have a really good goalie in the pipeline too, the Nashville Predators do, and you said, I'll give you Jonathan Berggren right now, maybe a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick for UC Saros, who's a Vezina caliber goalie. I don't think they're saying no. You can even add a prospect in there like Cross Hannes or something like that and sweeten the pot, because that's the way I look at it. And I know Nashville would say yes, because they need some forwards right now. And you got a lot of them in Grand Rapids. Even if you want to throw in Elmer Soderblom, ship his ass in a big jet, I don't care. Go get Saros. I mean, that's a guy that I would look at real quick, because that's a guy that would help you out tremendously.
So the question is, if you're suggesting that if he makes a move, he's got to do it in net. And given those stats, I tend to agree with you. So if you're going to replace anybody, who are you going to replace? And if the answer is Husso, where does Husso go? You want Saros. I get that. You're willing to give up someone like a Soderblom or somebody like that, who I think there was a lot of hope for, but he's still in the developmental stages or whatever. So hasn't been able to make to the roster. Who do you give up? Who do you give up? And if you're getting rid of Husso, where does Husso go?
I don't even think you have to get rid of Husso. I do think you're going to have to make a trade at some point, and I think that there's a really good chance that you can go make a trade with the Edmonton Oilers and say, look, Kenny, I know you need a goalie. You just put Jack Campbell on waivers. Your team sucks, buddy. Give us one of your players, and we'll take them. and you could have Huso right now. Saros is a guy that could start 60 games right now. Now, would you do that? Probably not, but that gives a little bit of you're going to give a little bit of a bump for Reimer to have some energy, Lyon to have some energy. He'll be fine. But that's where I would go, Saros. And I know that Nashville they didn't want to rebuild, but they're going to have to rebuild. And I know Barry Trotz is thinking that same thing right now.
So if Steve makes the move before Christmas, which you're looking at, I mean, how many games they got between now and then? 10?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So you're going to have to say to yourself, all right, what record do you think Steve is looking for to pull the trigger on? You think it's going to have to be 5-5, 50%? You think they've got at what point, what threshold would you set if you think Steve Yzerman's going to set for making that call?
Well, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You have 18 games in between there.
Oh wow, more than we thought. So 18. So you're saying here's my thought. I think out of those, let's break it this way. Break it down. If you got 18 games to go, halfway into that, in the next 9 games, I think he's got to see significant improvement. He's got to have at least 5 out of 9 wins.
Yeah.
In order to stay the course.
Obviously, yeah. Even if I wouldn't even chance that. I'd still be calling Nashville every day, being like, all right. I'd be like that. I'd be like those.
So you've already made the decision. You, Joe Yzerman, has already made the decision that you're making a move.
Yeah, call me, Stevie. Yeah, call me. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not saying that they should make a move. Well, I am saying they should make a move.
That's what I was hearing.
What I'm saying is it would be best interest for the Red Wings to make a move right now instead of waiting. Because if you wait, what if there's a chance that you are out of the playoff spot by Christmas? That's the issue you have to run. And I think that's a risk that has to be. And look, I know Steve Yzerman's looking at everything in particular, but he knows what I know. All of his teams that he played on with the Red Wings had good goaltending in the back. Even with Osgood, with Vernon, with Hasek. Curtis Joseph even. I mean, Curtis Joseph wasn't that bad. But they had good goaltending. And I look at this team and I go, there's not good goaltending right now. And if people tell me James Reimer is not playing 45-plus games, okay? So Husso is going to have to play some games anyways. So if you get a guy like Saros, who has started like 60 games the past like 3 years, I mean, if he comes in here and plays 50, you're still winning on the trade. You're still winning. So I would definitely pull the trigger. I wouldn't even wait on it. I seriously wouldn't. There's no reason to wait. What are you going to wait for? For you to get boned out of a playoff spot in December anyways?
So do you think if we change the goalie, let's say we get our netminder reorganized, right? And we get somebody new in there, we get your Saros. And what other area do you think, in your estimation, I'll tell you what I think mine is, right? What I know mine is. What other area besides that? Because that's not going to cut it, right? Just fixing the goaltending. Or do you think that that's going to cut it enough? Or is there one other area where the Wings have got to improve? And if they don't, their playoff hopes are really in the toilet?
Okay, so here's what I look at. I look at goaltending as the number one issue, period, by far.
Okay.
And then if you want to say that defenseman could be an issue, forward could be an issue, scoring could be an issue, I think that the scoring will get better. I think the defense will get better. What I don't think is going to get better, and I know Husso had a great year last year, and I think I'm sad to see that he's reverted back to the mean, but for the most part, it's been goaltending. And you look at the league average of 898. I mean, league average is 898. That tells you where the goaltending is in the NHL right now. And you're at 891. Okay.
So are you saying then if they fix the goaltending problem, that will be enough?
Yeah, if you get a guy back there who is stopping, 90% of his shots, you're going to be a way better team, and you're probably going to win more of the games than you lost. And I mean, I look at some of these games that we played recently. I mean, you look at the Boston game where they gave 3 unanswered goals. I look at the even the games that they won, they had to score like 4 or 5 goals. Like, you're just not gonna. I mean, the best game that they had was the stupid Panthers game, and that was because Reimer gave up some sneaky kind of play. But I just don't like. I don't like where they're heading. I really don't.
All right, here's my thing. Here's what I think. I'm not going to argue that we have to fix the goaltending problem. I'm with you on that one. But I don't think that's going to be enough. I think in addition to fixing that, I think that's going to go a long way to helping. But I believe they have also got to fix their special teams. They have got to fix their power play units. They've got to capitalize on those power plays. I think if they continue to not capitalize, I mean, I don't know what the stats are. I can't look it up because I'm on my phone. I can't look up both. But unfortunately, in the mobile command unit,
they're 11th in power play, so they're not that bad. But I think that they have more opportunity to be better on the power play with in-house solutions compared to goaltending with in-house solutions. Because I mean, in-house solutions for the goaltending, where are you going to go? Alex Lyon? I mean, let's get a grip. Like, this is not going to, you got to. I think the in-house solutions are there for for forward, and I think if you wanted to make a move for a defenseman, not a move, but if you wanted to, make your defenseman pairings better, bring up Simon Edmondson. That's the way I look at it. He's playing pretty good in Grand Rapids, so that's what I look at right there.
Okay, so and I'm not arguing that we don't have the in-house resources to fix what I think is a power play. I'm surprised that we're 11th in power play goals because it seems to me like we're just missing tons of opportunities. I'm watching more power play goals get scored against us rather than us scoring them on our end. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just in somewhat of a delusional state there. But I'm not saying we don't have the in-house resources. So I'm not saying to trade or make a move to fix that, but I'm just saying they need to address that issue, I feel, because it's going to catch up with them sooner or later. That's one intrinsic area that, and quite frankly, we got to keep giving so many opportunities. Those giveaways have got to be, that's got to be mitigated, because for whatever reason, we're ending up with a whole lot of opposition jerseys in our end that we're having to deal with. And like you said, they're creating screens. We're allowing them to do all of that. Right. So maybe that's just a straight up defense problem. But if we don't fix one of these other elements other than just the goaltending, I don't think the goaltending will be enough. Although I'm not going to argue the fact that that'll get us a long way to there. And I think Steve's going to make a move there. Absolutely. I think he's going to make a change. I think he has to. And if he doesn't, that tells you all you need to know. Like, if he's not going to make a change, I'll go for this far. What do you think of this? If he doesn't make a change in net, I don't think he's committed to the postseason.
I would agree with that because I mean, there's opportunities for you to get better, and you brought up the PK for a minute. I'll bring it up right now. They're at 78.9%. That is not good enough. I mean, there's a lot of playoff teams in the bottom tier, which is amazing to me. But I just look at it like this could. You got to get better in PK, got to get better in power play, but more importantly, I think the PK could be helped out by getting a goalie, and if you like what you just said about if he doesn't get a goalie, what does that tell you? Well, it tells me that he isn't serious about winning this year. That's just what it tells me.
Right, because that's a change that's going to have to be made. So it'll be interesting to see, Joe, what he ends up doing at the end of the day. I'll give you a 2-minute warning right now, and then my game is over today.
Oh, I know you're on fixated time. Yeah, this is where we'll end the podcast because we'll have another podcast Tuesday, kind of breaking down the 2 games that we had, with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. But for the most part, I mean, we've already discussed a lot of what I really wanted to discuss, and I think that kind of big gap that we had in terms of the podcast, because you were sick and I had issues. We both had issues, so we were both running in circles. But I look at it like this, Cindy. That gap that it gave us a lot of things to look at, and I think moving forward, especially in this stretch ahead, this 10-game stretch ahead, this is going to be huge for the Detroit Red Wings in terms of their playoff hope. So it's going to be very, very interesting to break down, and hopefully they don't let us down. And I'm hoping that Husso, when he comes back with the new baby energy, which that was trending on Twitter, and I wanted to get your for the final minute of the podcast, I want you to tell me, is there such thing as new baby energy or not? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if I had a baby right now, I'd be tired as hell.
Yeah, well, that's where the energy is. The new baby is the one with all the energy. The parents don't have it. There is no, I have never had an experience of new baby energy. I have no idea where that concept came from. That's got to be some new thing. I mean, I've had 3 of them, so it's
that was
like
that was a Twitter thing, and I was like, okay, I know someone who had a baby. Okay, had 3 of them, 3 kids. Now they're all grown. It's all hands on deck. She can say what she wants. She's like, yeah, those little brats, they were devils. You know,
that's what I'm saying. The ones with all the energy are in fact the new babies. They sleep a lot, but when they're up, they got a lot of energy, right? No, they sap it from you. You know, no, you're a walking zombie. So I don't buy that for 1 minute. I'm a little more worried about Ville Husso now, to be honest with you. In fact, I say take that, get him separated from that kid for these next 10 games. Let him see that kid on a day he doesn't have a game or something. But you know, the kid's not going to miss him. It's okay, Ville. Don't worry about it. They're pretty much.
Husso's from Finland.
The mom anyway.
Husso's from Finland, so ship that kid to Finland for the rest of the winter.
That's right. You won't miss him. It's all good. He doesn't even pay attention.
He's gonna go learn. He's gonna learn Scandinavian hieroglyphics.
There you go. Have him do something. But yeah, no, he can't be. Whoever the mom is, because I know Ville's not married, so I assume it's his girlfriend. But right, and so it's gonna be up to her. She's gonna either be the savior of the Red Wings or she's gonna be their demise.
He's not married. He's not married.
I don't think so.
So
I could be wrong. I don't think so.
So he let one go through the 5-hole. That's bad news, Cindy. That is bad news. Okay. I mean, you can't be giving up the 5-hole off the ice and on the ice. We're in a bad situation right now. Go get Farrell.
I'll tell you, I know. By the way, no. In all seriousness, congratulations to Ville Husso. He's a very nice guy. Yep. Had the opportunity to meet him and talk with him a couple of years ago when he first got here, and I like him a lot. So congratulations to him. That's wonderful. But no, really, this new baby energy concept is that's a bunch of malarkey. I don't know who those people are.
That's what I wanted to ask you. All right, Cindy. Yeah. I know you have to go. It was a great podcast. We'll see you guys in the next podcast of Red Alert, and we will see you Tuesday when we do our next podcast. So we will.
Woohoo! Can't wait.
We'll see you, and then hopefully the Red Wings pull these 2 games out and at least go 1-1. That's what I hope. But we'll see you guys when we see Ville Husso's new baby energy, which doesn't exist. That's Cindy. We'll see you next.
See you then.